During a championship game, the Falcons found themselves trailing by a single point against the Vipers. The team captain, Heizuki, took charge, rallying her team, which consisted of Morgan, Jean, Emma, Tatiana, and Dani. They were determined to turn the tide of the game. Heizuki instructed Morgan to switch to defense and delegated the hit to John. This decision upset Morgan, but Heizuki urged her to stick to the plan. On the other hand, John lacked confidence in her assigned position, so Heizuki provided encouragement. Meanwhile, Emma was struggling, and she apologized profusely to Heizuki. However, the team captain was understanding and simply told her to do her best. As the round began, Emma tripped while attempting to hit the ball. John prepared to take the spike, but Morgan pushed her aside and used the fallen Emma as a stepping stool to seize the spotlight and make the crucial hit. The Falcons emerged victorious, but Heizuki wasn't entirely pleased with Morgan's actions, especially considering the potential harm to John and Emma. Following the game, the team huddled in victory with Coach and their mascot, Liz. During this celebratory moment, a volleyball scout noticed John and handed her a calling card. On the way home, an unfortunate incident occurred as Coach accidentally drove over a chicken, causing its innards to splatter all over their RV's windshield. In the midst of this, Liz shared the exciting news that a scout for the Nationals had noticed John, which triggered envy in Morgan. Tension began to rise within the team. In response, Coach stepped up and reprimanded Morgan for her attitude, emphasizing the importance of team unity and supporting one another. Still, Morgan continued to blame Emma for not hitting the ball well, which she believed had prevented her from getting a good set. She sought Coach's opinion on whether she deserved a spot at the Nationals, but Coach couldn't provide a definitive answer. Nevertheless, Coach managed to maintain group morale, and the team returned to a cheerful mood, celebrating their recent win. As they continued their journey, the team made a quick stop due to their RV's engine malfunctioning. Dani attempted to diagnose the problem. In the absence of a working bathroom on the RV, the team took a quick pee break outside. However, Morgan's lack of team spirit was evident as she chose to pee farther away, muttering curses about Heizuki under her breath. Eventually, Dani successfully fixed the engine, and they prepared to resume their journey. Unbeknownst to them, someone had been spying on them. As they continued down the road, they found themselves lost, with few road signs to guide their way. The team's journey had taken an unexpected turn. Stuck on a remote road, they faced a dilemma as they realized their path was blocked. Jean's sharp eyes spotted an off-road trail leading to a place called Helheim, offering a glimmer of hope. However, Heizuki's attempt to locate Helheim on their map proved futile, adding to their predicament. Coach, always pragmatic, made the tough decision to call it a day, with the hope of regrouping and finding accommodation in a nearby hotel tomorrow. They continued down the road to Helheim, deeper into the woods, leaving the bustling highway behind. Yet, their arrival at Helheim was far from welcoming, as a palpable sense of oppression engulfed the place. Upon entering the establishment, the team was met with an intriguing but eerie hunting-themed decor. Coach, their problem solver, approached the bar, seeking rooms for the group. However, the barman's response was unexpected. He curtly informed Coach that there was no room available and offered no assistance in finding their way back. Meanwhile, Morgan decided to let loose and climbed onto a table, dancing with exuberance. Her spirited performance attracted the attention of a patron who approached her with an unsettling grin. Despite Morgan's attempts at conversation, the man remained unresponsive and made an inappropriate move by grabbing her. Simultaneously, the barman subjected Dani to an uncomfortable encounter by licking her face. Tatiana, fiercely protective of her girlfriend, reacted by slapping the misbehaving barman. This triggered a chaotic sequence of events, with Morgan also retaliating by slapping the man who had touched her. Despite the commotion, the locals inside the bar seemed strangely indifferent. The tension in the team had hit a breaking point. Heizuki, the team captain, and Morgan were in a serious standoff. Heizuki was upset with Morgan's behavior, and the team's unity was falling apart. Morgan refused to accept Heizuki as their leader, and the threat of being removed from the team hung in the air. Desperate to calm things down and find a place to sleep, Coach suddenly stopped their RV. They had been searching for a hotel, but no luck. They had to settle for camping in an unfamiliar spot. Thankfully, Dani knew how to handle the outdoors, so they managed to cook dinner. But underneath, there was still tension. Things took a nasty turn when Emma mentioned she wanted more food. Morgan, instead of being kind, made fun of Emma's body and hurt her feelings. The rest of the team didn't like that at all. Emma got so upset that she walked away. Later that night, Heizuki comforted Emma, knowing how tough it was for her. Meanwhile, John shared some exciting news about training for a national spot, which meant leaving the team. Most of the team was happy for John, but Morgan was jealous and said John wasn't good enough. When Emma returned, Morgan started teasing her again, but this time, Emma fought back with anger. Tatiana tried to break it up, and Heizuki told everyone to get some rest. The next morning, someone knocked on their RV door. Dani opened it, and a masked person grabbed her and pulled her out. They were suddenly surrounded by hunters with guns. Coach told the team to apologize, but it didn't help. The hunters shot Dani's hand. Coach made a tough choice to drive away, leaving the girls behind. But the hunters chased them. The team split up. One group had Morgan, Emma, and Heizuki, who were still arguing. Heizuki tried to get them to stop fighting. The other group had Danny, Tatiana, Liz, and John. Liz blamed Tatiana for what happened earlier at bar, and things got chaotic. Danny was about to give some advice when she was shot in the head by the hunter. The girls were now running for their lives, and Tatiana, unable to accept Danny's death, ran off alone in a confused state. Liz and Jean, filled with worry, let her go, knowing they were all in a tough spot. Jean made a quick decision. She told Liz to leave her falcon cape behind and run away. Liz reluctantly obeyed, shedding the cape, and took off. Heizuki, on the other hand, decided to separate from Morgan and Emma to scout the surroundings on her own. She knew she could be more inconspicuous solo. She left the two by some rocks, instructing them to lay low. While hiding among the rocks, Morgan couldn't contain her anger towards Tatiana, blaming her for the entire situation because Tatiana had slapped the barman. Emma, however, pointed out that Morgan wasn't entirely innocent either, despite acting like the victim. As Heizuki climbed higher to gain a better vantage point, she spotted a pair of feet atop the rocks. Her heart raced, but upon closer inspection, she realized it was just a decoy. She returned to Morgan and Emma with this information, revealing that there were more decoys scattered throughout the forest. Meanwhile, a pair of hunters stumbled upon Liz's discarded cape and began tracking them down using its scent, imitating dogs. Liz and John, trying to find safety, found themselves in a difficult conversation. Liz confessed to sleeping with John's boyfriend, and understandably, John became upset. Their argument escalated, and John felt betrayed by her best friend's actions. Their heated exchange halted abruptly when they heard the hunters approaching their hiding spot. To their horror, they realized that the hunters were urinating in their vicinity. Heizuki's group faced its own set of challenges as they spotted an actual hunter, not a decoy, approaching. They could hear the hunter's bird call. Emma, using her quick thinking, imitated the call of a prairie falcon, momentarily confusing the hunter and buying them some time. However, when the hunter closed in, Emma's gimmick could only do so much. Heizuki and Emma had to work together, while Morgan remained frozen in fear. Heizuki took the lead in the fight but scolded Morgan for not following the plan. Despite their efforts, the hunter proved resilient, pinning Heizuki to the ground. She pleaded for help from Morgan, but Morgan remained paralyzed. Thankfully, Emma stepped in, seizing the hunter's gun and using it against him. Morgan tried to apologize, but Heizuki was resolute in her decision. Morgan was off the team. Simultaneously, John and Liz had also chosen to split up, believing it would increase their chances of survival. Unfortunately, Liz's shouts drew the hunter's attention, and they closed in on her first. Jean found herself stumbling upon a Boy Scout camp and urgently pleaded for help. She tried to warn the counselors and kids about the hunters, but the counselor dismissed her as a crazy person. In a desperate attempt to save one of the children, Jean reached out to pull them to safety, but the counselor responded by pepper spraying her for harassing them. Meanwhile, John was running for her life, but the hunters were closing in on her, eventually reaching the Boy Scout camp. The counselor pointed in John's direction, leading the hunters straight to her, resulting in a fatal shot that ended the counselor's life. Liz, held captive by the hunters, attempted to bargain for her release. In a moment of desperation, she tried to put on a show for them. However, her plan took an unexpected turn when the hunters displayed attraction towards each other, paying no heed to her performance. Liz asked for their attention, only to receive a harsh blow. Back with Heizuki and Morgan, Morgan attempted to reason with Heizuki, pleading not to be kicked out of the team. Heizuki, however, remained resolute in her decision, especially after witnessing Morgan's aversion to teamwork. She emphasized that they were a unit and needed to work together. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted when a hunter emerged from the marsh and attacked Heizuki, subduing Emma, who was armed with a gun. Heizuki bravely fought against the hunter but found herself pinned on the ground, with the hunter trying to drown her. In a surprising turn of events, Morgan came to Heizuki's rescue, beheading the assailant with a machete. However, in her frantic efforts to help Heizuki, Morgan accidentally slipped and stabbed her captain. Realizing her terrible mistake, she apologized but quickly saw that Emma was about to regain consciousness. In a panic, she stabbed Heizuki once more, pretending that the hunter had killed their captain. Morgan then ran to Emma, hysterically shouting that the hunter had done it, and Emma, unaware of the truth, believed her. Meanwhile, Tatiana discovered that the hunters had taken control of their RV. As she cautiously entered their makeshift hideout, she witnessed the horrifying sight of the men engaging in cannibalism. In a daring escape attempt, she managed to find a functioning car. Unfortunately, a hunter caught up to her, but Tatiana proved to be a formidable opponent in the ensuing fight. She overpowered the hunter, got back in the car, and ran over him. However, her escape was short-lived as she totaled the car when driving off a steep elevation. Amidst the chaos, Coach, burdened by guilt for leaving the girls behind, encountered the barman's chihuahua, which bit into his groin. After struggling to free himself, he resorted to a gruesome act, ripping the dog in half. Eventually, some of the girls, Morgan, Jean, and Emma, managed to reunite. They stumbled upon the car Tatiana had attempted to drive earlier, but no sign of the girl. The girls, stranded in their RV without gas, managed to sneak in and retrieve John's phone. However, instead of calling the police, John confronted her cheating boyfriend and gave him a piece of her mind. When Emma inquired about calling for help, John claimed her phone's battery had died. As the hunters returned to the RV, the girls decided on a desperate plan to fend them off using their volleyball skills. While their initial attempt seemed promising, volleyballs proved ineffective against armed men. In the chaos that followed, Morgan was caught with a rope, and John, with no other option, fled, leaving Morgan behind. Emma and John hid temporarily, waiting for the right moment to emerge. When Morgan regained consciousness, she found herself tied alongside Tatiana and Liz, surrounded by the hunters, who had their own cult led by the barman. Morgan screamed for her life, but Liz and Tatiana urged her not to give the hunters the satisfaction of pleading for mercy. When the leader showed Danny's head to Tatiana, she smiled, still struggling to process her girlfriend's death. However, when she noticed Danny's chipped ear, anger overcame her once more. As John climbed the structure where the girls were held and found a gun, she entered the scene, surprising the cultists. Morgan convinced the leader to use the gun with a retractable blade on Tatiana instead, but before he could act, Jean shot one of the hunters in the head, and Emma joined the fray, using a volleyball to strike another. With newfound hope, the restrained girls fought back and freed themselves from their chairs. Tatiana grabbed the piercing gun to scout the area while chaos erupted. She was soon attacked by the leader but was rescued by Coach, who broke through the walls with a car. As he fought against the men, Coach apologized to his team for leaving them behind. Emma defeated an opponent with her machete, while Morgan attempted to escape in Coach's car. However, Liz stopped her, and in a heart-wrenching moment, Morgan stabbed Liz to death. Jean held Liz in her arms as she passed away. Tatiana managed to overpower and kill the leader, while John and Morgan engaged in a fierce fight. Ultimately, Morgan gained the upper hand, but John surprised her with a headbutt. Coach, surrounded by more hunters, sacrificed himself by igniting a propane tank, engulfing the area in flames. In the end, only Emma, Jean, and Tatiana survived the ordeal. They visited John's cheating boyfriend to confront his behavior, delivering a well-deserved kick to the groin.